a black woman, 28, 29 years old, Tasia Fortune, was found hanging from a tree. Monday, Art, 4 days ago, a black woman was found hanging from a tree in Jackson, Mississippi. And check this out, Art. They said her corpse, her body, had been hanging from the tree for 3 to 4 days, Art. 3 to 4 days, her body was hanging. It gets worse, Art. It gets worse. They said they had to use a ladder. They had to use a ladder to go up on the tree and get our sister Tasia down. And guess what the Mississippi State Medical Examiner ruled it, Art? Guess what she ruled it? The same thing she ruled Trey Reed's death as: suicide. Let me ask you a question, Art. How many black people you know hang themselves from trees? I don't know no black person who have ever taken their life by hanging themselves from a tree. In fact, it's almost impossible to hang yourself from a tree. In fact, black people have been hung from trees by white people for over 200 years. So you mean to tell me the very method that has been used to take our lives at the hands of white people, we are now taking the method ourselves, Art? We are now taking the method ourselves, Art, and we're going to hang ourselves with a noose the same way white people used to hang our ancestors? Who does that make sense to? That don't make no damn sense. So now all of a sudden, when black people want to take their life, we're going to go outside, get a noose, and hang ourselves suspended from a tree. That's nonsense. And the Mississippi State Medical Examiner, Art, every time a black person is found hanging in Mississippi, she wants to rule it a suicide. You know why, Art? If you rule it a suicide, you don't have to investigate. If you rule it a suicide, you can close the case and you don't have to investigate. So Ben Crump and Al Sharpton need to turn up the heat under Sheriff Ledbetter's office. They need to turn up the heat under District Attorney Mulrath's office, because they are dragging their feet. They are not taking this investigation seriously. It is too quiet. We don't know anything. Sister Christine don't know anything after 30 days, and Ben Crump and Al Sharpton need to go to the streets. Since you like to march every year in Washington, D.C., Al Sharpton, why don't you bring your behind to Mississippi and march?
Just a PSA to everyone out there: black people do not hang ourselves from trees. I need you to sit with that sentence before you scroll past it and you scroll away from the video. We do not hang ourselves from trees, especially due to the historical implications of what that means, because of what a tree in the South has meant to black families for over a century, because all of us have a member of our lineage who was most likely lynched at the hands of white people like it was a sporting event to boost the town's morale. You don't get to separate that method from the history, because the history is the method. This week, a 29-year-old black woman named Tasia Fortune was found hanging from a tree behind a vacant home in Jackson, Mississippi. Less than a year ago was Trey Reed, a 21-year-old Delta State student found hanging from a tree on his own campus. His death was ruled a suicide within days. His family fought for a second autopsy anyway, because swift and true are not the same word in Mississippi. Over a dozen black people hanging from trees in this state in the last few years. Every one of them ruled a suicide. Every time, case closed. And here's the dot I need you guys to connect to what's going on right now, because it's not a coincidence and it's not a conspiracy. It's Mississippi state law. Mississippi does not separate medical examiners for separate counties. Since 2011, one office, the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office, headed by Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Stacy Turner, is legally responsible for determining cause and manner of death for every reportable unexplained death in all 82 counties. County coroners just liaise. The actual ruling, homicide, suicide, undetermined, comes out of that one state office every time. That means the same state office that ruled Trey Reed's death last year a suicide after 2 days is the same state office performing the autopsy on Nolan Wells right now. It's the same state office Tasia Fortune's body was just sent to this week. One office, one system, ruling on every black body Mississippi keeps finding in trees and water and landing again and again on the version of events that requires nothing further. I'm not going to pretend I don't see that through line, and I need you to stop pretending you don't see it either. And while Jackson is burying another black body dying from mysterious, unexplained circumstances, Mississippi is still withholding answers on Nolan Wells. That same state medical examiner's office had already removed parts of his body before the family's independent pathologist ever got access, which meant the second autopsy could not even examine his airway, his lungs, his throat. Undetermined, that's the official word. Undetermined, pending a grand jury review that the local DA won't put a timeline on. Meanwhile, the young men who were with Nolan on that island, who haven't been charged, who authorities haven't named a single lead on, they hired one of Donald Trump's own media attorneys, the same lawyer who fought CBS, the New York Times, and the BBC on Trump's behalf, now representing 3 teenagers with, by their own lawyers' framing, nothing to hide. Their legal defense fund has raised over $150,000. Innocent people can lawyer up. I'm not saying they can't. What I'm saying is, and I know that if these were 3 black boys on that island and Nolan was white, they would not have made it home before the handcuffs did. That is the dichotomy, the whole thesis. 2 systems, 1 country. You want proof it's not just Mississippi? Look at what just happened in Oklahoma. Jesse Mack Butler, 17 years old when he strangled a girl on camera until she nearly died. Doctors had to operate on her to repair her neck. He did the same to a second girl over a 9-month span. 11 felony accounts, rape, strangulation, sexual battery. He pled no contest to all of it, faced up to 78 years in jail. He served 0 days in jail. 0. Counseling, a curfew, 150 hours of community service, and this week, 1 day before his 19th birthday, a judge dismissed the whole case entirely, citing that he is so young, he has a lot of life to live, and he can change. He does not have to register as a sex offender. This is a boy who almost killed a girl on camera and then raped and strangled a girl for 9 months. His convictions are functionally erased. If Jesse Mack Butler were black, he would not have seen his 19th birthday as a free man. We all know it. I am exhausted, and I want to be honest about that. Exhausted having to point out what's already in front of everyone's fucking face and watch people call it a coincidence, call it a stretch, deny, detract. We're making everything about race. Wake the fuck up, because Mississippi has a 200-year paper trail. Oklahoma just added a fresh page. And until the people ruling on these deaths and those sentences look like the people they're failing, I'm going to keep saying it loud on every single platform I have. Black people are not hanging ourselves from trees. And a system that keeps ruling otherwise isn't confused. It's consistent. Stay black, stay blessed, y'all. I'm exhausted today.
Her name is Tasia Fortune, 29-year-old woman who was found hanging from a tree in Jackson, Mississippi at an abandoned house. The neighbor of the abandoned house discovered her body. The Jackson Police Department is now, a couple days later, saying that they are going to open an investigation in her case because of the mysterious circumstances that her body was found. Now, I want you to remember a year ago, Trey Reed was found hanging from Mississippi State University. And then a couple months ago, Cohen Wiley was shot in Senatobia, Mississippi. And a month ago, Nolan Wells was found off of Horn Island in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And now in Jackson, Mississippi, we have a 29-year-old black woman who was found hanging from a tree. I'm not entirely sure what the hell is going on in Mississippi right now, but enough is enough. Remember her name, share her story, and get this out because it is not being reported on enough. Her name is Tasia Fortune, 29 years old.
So I made a video, my last video, talking about this young girl that was found hanging from a tree. And people are getting upset in my comments going, why are you jumping to conclusions while there's still an investigation? Well, I don't know. Maybe because we have sheriffs that are being fired in states like North Carolina for being caught on audio saying that we need to get rid of blacks. Maybe because we have an administration who is using ICE as his own private Gestapo to get rid of brown people. Maybe it's because of the history of racial violence in this country. Or how about Nashville, Tennessee, where we have white supremacists who are marching through the streets? Or how about any number of right-wing podcasters who spew the most hateful, racial BS that you can possibly think of, and talking about how we need to get rid of everybody and how the United States is a white Christian nation. Maybe because the evidence is overwhelming and white supremacists are free to roam the streets, carry their flags, and shout their slogans. And what really pisses me off about the whole thing is that race is a man-made construct. The term white man didn't exist before 500 years ago. There is no such thing as race. It's an absolute lack of education that makes people believe that one race is more superior to another. We live in a political environment where people are racially targeted for the color of their skin, and a lot of it is being perpetrated by our own government, by those who are supposed to protect the rights of the people. But that's not what's happening here. We have a president who spews hatred and vile things about anybody who doesn't look like him, and anybody who doesn't look like the white Christian nationalists that they're trying to force this country to become. The question should be, why do we have such a race problem in this country still? Race is man-made. We are one species, and that's the end of the damn story.
Just need a few minutes of your time. Watch this.
So let me get this straight. Not only is a black woman found hung in Mississippi by the name of Tasia Fortune, but this happens a couple months after the Nolan Wells situation, which is still under investigation to this day. And not only is she found hung in Mississippi, but she's found hung in the blackest city in Mississippi, which is Jackson, Mississippi, which also happens to be the blackest city in the United States. And because black people don't hang themselves on trees, you're telling me that some racist ass Ofe was able to go on Remembrance Road, which runs through the middle of Jackson, and hang some black woman, and ain't nan niggas saw nothing, ain't no camera pick up no suspicious activity whatsoever. In a city where majority of the population, over 80% is black, a majority of the city council is black, the mayor is black, and the majority of the police department is black. Every black person in Jackson should be downtown at City Hall yesterday demanding answers, bro.
I want to bring up something that nobody's talking about, because I think it's just flying right over people's head. Okay, the city where it happened, right? Jackson, mostly black. Y'all know this dude going around spreading all of this stuff on the internet, and his name starts with an officer. T. Officer Tatum. You think that Officer Tatum, I can't even say his name right, you think he's the only officer in the United States that's our color thinks that way? You don't think his other officers want to line up to be a good old boy for some money? It's a reason why they can just come into, mostly like you say, mostly black, and do it. Because they probably had people that was like us do it. The good old boys. The masser's favorite. They're over there, massa. They're over here, boss. They're in the corner. One of them. I think y'all keep forgetting and then letting that gloss right over your head, not understanding it's a bunch of them out in the black community. It's not just those racist YT people that you have to worry about. Sometimes it's the people that look just like you that's blended in, working for them. The racists. Y'all got to start using this, because it ain't no reason, in my opinion, that something like this, like he said, nobody saw anything. It's cameras literally everywhere. Nobody saw anything. Unless it's an inside. And that's just allegedly. Not saying anybody did anything, but you know, a lot of us work for the racists, and y'all don't want to admit that yet. There's no reason that this keeps happening and nobody is being caught. No suspects, no nothing. You know why? Because there's a bunch of us working for those racist people, in my opinion.
Is really happening in Mississippi. It's bothering, it's worrisome, it is concerning. These issues of black people hanging themselves on tree is not the fact. It is not the state of realities on ground. And this is heartbreaking for me as a person, heartbreaking for me as a black person to see this level of decadence. We're just coming out from the Noel Wells case that has not been resolved, where this white case, he went on this vacation or so to say, or boat trip, have not been questioned to undermine, to or rather determine their involvement in this matter. There's so much secrecy, so much protection over these white kids, and we are saying if it's a black person, it will not be so. How many kids have been found dead, hanging on trees all across Mississippi? This is not an isolated case, and they are all black kids. The number of black kids that are being killed is giving great concern. Look at Tasia Fortune. Her life has been cut short by these so-called assailants. And the autopsy they are saying is that it is suicide. How did she climb up there to kill herself? Why did she need to go that far? Why would she need to climb that high if they needed to take a ladder to bring her down? And these are questions that anyone who doesn't need to go to or be a police officer need to ask the very, very basic and fundamental question. This is obnoxious. And so if you're coming across my YouTube channel, you're welcome. Please hit your subscription button, hit your notification button, so that when we bring updates, you'll be the first to be notified. Returning subscribers, thank you guys. You are the reason why we do what we do. I don't know when this is gonna end. Really, I don't really know when it is gonna end. The killings, the takings of life of innocent black kids, they are systematically being eliminated, systematically being wiped away, lives being cut off in their prime and in their strength. I want to know what your thoughts are. Your opinions are in the comment section. This matter is worthy of discussion. It is high time that the black community begin to possibly set up their own personal vigilante groups to begin to man our streets, because I can't understand how this girl could be hanging for the past 3-4 days on the tree and nobody saw anything. Trust to see you again.